efforts that have been put in place so far to put it in a proper perspective. We're sorry we're starting a bit late, but we start now. I want to welcome everybody, and in particular, I want to welcome those who have joined us online. You're all welcome. Already, I can see about 30 participants who have joined us, and I want to say a big welcome to you all. Before we start, this is OAU, and when you are in OAU, you really have to be OAU. And so for us to start, we're starting with OAU anthem. For those of us in the diaspora, you can also join us. Shall we please stand? At the count of 3, we go. 1, 2, 3. African most beautiful country. Again, I want to say a big welcome to you. Let me use this opportunity on behalf of the head of the family to formally welcome those of us who are seated. We are going to do. The speaker is not loud. Continue, sir. We actually, those of us who are seated here, we will try as much as possible not to waste time by introducing ourselves. And after that introduction, we'll read out the names of those you see online. So let us know precisely those and those who have joined us. Let's start from within. Hello? Okay. I am starting from my right hand there. I will pass the microphone just like that. We have a big masquerade here. He will introduce himself. And you know quite well that we have a big masquerade. I'm happy again to have him here because when you see him around, you are seeing history. Welcome, sir. Thank you very much. I think that we need to go now. Let's go where it's
Remark is the name. I graduated as master degree student in 1997 from OAU. I'm Ajiboye Olusegun Jide. I did painting and I graduated in 1994, my first degree.
My name is Olusegun Samuel Aino. I graduated as sculptor student in the year 2004.
My name is Dr. Ogowola. I graduated in 2008 as a sculptor.
My name is Uche. I'm still in the Department of English.
Thank you.
My name is Wadi Olamide. I'm a part 4 student of Fine Art Department, Sculpture and Movement.
Oluwaseyala, painting major, Fine Art Department, part 4.
Olatunde Omotense, painting major, Fine Art Department, part 4.
Sanusi Abuleti, sculpture major, Fine Art Department, part 4.
My name is Wega Deke. I finished painting department 2015.
My name is Grace Gambita, graduated as a painter 2018.
My name is Isaac Labat. I
Thank you. I guess let me read out names here. If you're there, maybe you unmute yourself, but let me just read those I've seen online. We have Adewumi Adebayo, you're welcome. Debo is here. We have Jesufumi Robinson. His Royal Majesty over Dr. Adebayo Lushina Adekoya. Thanks for joining us. We have Ikem Ode Ifeyua, Olariwaju Elu Fowoju, Olariwaju Nasiru. We have still in front of me, Tito Bioluwa Obukibe, Ayola Ejishami, and I know many will still join us. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome everybody. We are opening it up by providing the reasons for why we are gathered here. There is a need for us to know why we are here. I'm quite sure you understand that at a point in time when the university was to celebrate the 68th anniversary of the university, the decision was taken to have the celebration marked with an exhibit. Continue, sir. With an exhibit, and because of that, a concept came up. I will call on Dr. Kukola to just give a brief background to that, to tell us what brought about what we have gathered to celebrate now. Dr. Kukola, tell us about the 60 by 60 by 60.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Kukola. I want to say thank you so much for coming.
I feel it's a great privilege for me to be here and to talk about the reason why we're here. Standing on the existing protocol, some few months back, precisely August last year, I was privileged to be with Professor Charles Keji, who is the chairman of OAU at 60. So while we're having a conversation, he said he has an idea to do an art exhibition of best fine arts department's best. So we took the idea, and immediately, I just got the idea. I felt the need to buy into what it seemed like. Immediately, I sprung into action by calling different people, some of my friends and senior colleagues. Then I went to the department, discussed with the HOD and discussed with Dr. Ademole. So we began the journey. So at that moment, I didn't have any clue on how to go about it. But I decided to constitute a committee. In my committee, I have Dr. Kendi Adepriba and Mr. Waleri. So we sat down and we brainstormed on what should be the idea, the theme of the exhibition. And the idea came 60 by 60 by 60. So after several meetings, we got the theme of the exhibition, started inviting people, we put out a call for exhibition. So at that time, I needed to travel to US. So I went to US and I went to almost 20 states just to get works from some of our alumni who reside in the US. So I got some of them like Victor Epu, I got Professor Moyo KTG from Texas, Victoria who is in Washington DC, and I got Professor Ronkani who is in Lautech. So we started getting, we started meeting artists. To God be the glory, we had almost about 7 professors that are practicing. I mean, that's a big applause for us to have professors that are practicing. Next 5 years, So we had about 7 or 8 doctors among the exhibiting artists, and different generation of the best of our department alumni. So what we did was that we had about 120 entries, people submitted, and it was properly, professionally juried. The jury process was very tough because we needed to follow a particular ideology, follow a particular pattern to select what we represent and what we can use to celebrate where you are sitting. And to cut the long story short, we had the best of the show. This show was well attended by the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, the Governor of Osun State, the Governor of Ekiti State, the Commissioner of Police, and we had a lot of dignitaries from the Ooni of Ife also came. We have about 10 people from the presidency that came. The Vice President, Dr. came, and we had Dr. Filani came. A lot of people actually turned up for this show, and to crown the whole thing, we had sales. Sorry, we are not sales. We had sales. I think we have a round of applause. So I feel it's a great honor to have this kind of event, because this seems to be the first time you have all the generations from when the department started in 1975 till date, and everybody is fully represented here. So for me, it's a cap in my head. It's a privilege for me to be the curator, and I do not take it for granted, because I know I did the little I could with the support of everyone here, and I really want to say thank you for standing by me to make sure that we had this event. The university, they were so proud when the VC was giving a speech during the convocation. He mentioned my name 3 times, and the Vice President was asking, Dr. Modi, I was so happy because they are beginning to have the love for our art, especially in this university. For the university to give us this space, we have to give that to the Charles and the Vice Chancellor. And thanks to Dr. Ademoleya for his support from the first day to the last. And thanks to Dr. Filani, who also helped in the jury, because there are some works you can't even jury. You have to just say, this person must be a shoe. So, Yoruba will say, come on, Yoruba, and I know some history, and there are some, definitely, there are some people that must be in the show. So we thank God that this show is a success, and this is the more reason why we're here. Just to talk about, we want to talk about lest I forget, we had textile design from Professor Mark again here, Professor Ojo, and Professor Areo was there. So we had a lot of painting, sculpture, graphics, 3D design, everything we had here. Awesome pieces from different set of people. Dr. Ajiboye was also part of the jury, and I think we had the best of the best. So on that note, I want to say thank you so much for this support and for making this show a success.
Shall we put our hands together again? Let me build on that foundation you have laid, because you have talked about history. well, everywhere you mention it, you can ask for it. If the license does not be attending, you don't. But the truth of the matter is, there is need for us to know precisely how to put what we have in the proper perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, I will want to call on, like people will say, it is in the mouth of the elder that is Ponadot can be actually the value of Ponadot can be appreciated. And we are here, we have an elder here who perhaps take us through a journey. But that we are going to do this journey. Why you take us through the journey, at the same time, I want to let us understand that why we have to do the journey and the journey perspective. So you go the truth, you tell us why, then you take us back so that we will not start just from anywhere. We are lucky today, we have somebody who can tell about the past, we have those who can tell about the present, we have those who are looking up to the future, and that is exactly what this program is all about. Thank you. Dr. Friedland, put your hand together. Thank you very much.
Can you please, I had this doctor's. Well, let me first of all, show appreciation to the management of the university for participating in the foreign arts department. Having sufficient graduates, power, and using that as focus during big centers, the number of departments and universities, settles. And oftentimes, art has always been seen as a barrier in terms of specialization. And the university decide for the university to decide to use the department to exhibit very 16 across it's a very good pleasure. Two things it is. One, brought us to the limelight of the university, and it also reinforced our activities outside the university. We must be kudos to Dr. Ugola for his restless, positive activism. He is the one that facilitated this discussion in conjunction with the department. And I never created the institution that spans over 50 years of collection of works. Then you know it's enemies. Seeing that he was able to get a very good representation of the alumni of the department in this show. We can only continue to think that we have more persons here. But we will also translate our efforts into positive displays. I want to sincerely thank the Department of Finance, the staff especially, our professors and lecturers and other staff for ensuring that this exhibition took place in a very conducive atmosphere and sustained it without injury to any works, without theft to any work. This is important. Can I speak?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah. This is important because our program and some of us who included cost, whenever we sense that it's about historicizing the Ife Art School, appreciating the aims of the past and charting new trajectories, for the future. It's very interesting. As we know, to historize is different from to historicize. If we historize, we are just narrating sequence of events. But to historicize is to put context into the history itself. To talk about issues related to style. How did it come up? Through the curriculum? What's the analysis of the influential works we have seen? What's the SWOT analysis? What's our strengths, where's our weaknesses? What opportunities do we have for the future? And what's the threats to our discipline? Oftentimes, I want us to approach it in the sense that there is culture and there is geography. There is a culture to Ile-Ife itself, and there is a culture to the Department of Fine and Applied Arts. Ile-Ife is the cradle of Yoruba civilization with, arguably, the most diverse materials to produce some of the best works ever found in Africa. And the university is located in such place, in that geography. And so we had a basis to develop on that excellent tradition. However, there could be weaknesses also in the culture that we need to talk about that will also affect negatively, the essence of growth in the department. So the culture itself, is already set. And as you can see through the exhibition, there seems to be a dynamic trend of another culture emerging in the department. So, what about the location? We are located in Ife. What's the benefits of location? We have access to excellent tradition. We are situated in an excellent institution. And we have complement of excellent and beautiful environment where we can allow our minds to ventilate. And we also have robust, willing and hardworking personnel in terms of staff. I think that, for me, summarizes the import of our discussion today. As we go on, some of us will talk about where we work in terms of style, in terms of our curriculum development, in terms of feedback from the town. What about our students? How are they managing in industries? How are they managing, as artists? All this feedback will influence the historicization of the school itself. For example, oftentimes we dwell more on the fine arts, aesthetics, from maybe sculpture, painting, etc. Luckily today, there seems to be a collapse of some of these branches. Some people are using all available means to be creative, and they use materials the way they want to use. However, it's also important for us to note that design concept is very important, because design is very important to the tradition that we belong to in Ile-Ife, or any other ethnic group in Nigeria for that matter. Yoruba says that Ile Latinko Esho. The connotative meaning is the one usually adhered to. That is, a good guy, is brought up by a good family. But the literal meaning, the connotative meaning, is that Esho itself is designed. Esho, what you wear, like your gele, your beads, your bangles, even the tables that you sit on. Remember that in those days when you are going for meetings, you carry your own stool, and they are artworks, they are functional artworks, and yet the design is very unique. So, the Latin question today is not limited to the qualitative meaning of character. It's also about, displaying your design. The design is made for home, outside. How we found that as we could expand later. So, I'm indeed very happy to see almost all the staff of the department present, and luckily, students are also here because of the lecture-free day. Let me put it that way. So, we thank you both sincerely, and I know that as we go on, it's like the onion skin that we will be unfolding gradually, and we'll have better information, and that will spur some of our younger ones to greater things. The essence of history is not because it's enjoyable to relate the past. It's for the past to influence the present and to generate a more dynamic thing in the future. So our looking into all this is not because of us, it's because we feel that one person or two people will benefit from this discussion and further project the department in a bigger way. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And Professor Ademuleya, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Let me quickly say that we have online Professor Dr. Kola Ogundowoli. I hope I pronounced that name well. Ogundowoli, you are welcome, sir. We going into discussions, but before then, I have also our colleagues here. Mr. Okwade is there, Dr. Faju Igbe is there, who has written on Ife School. We have Dr. Moro seated there, and we have a host of others there. We're going little by little. Our discussion will involve generations, because we're not just going to talk about Ife School in a passing. So those who are online, please, by the time we're talking about generations and we're trying to make a ring around a particular generation, you are also free to participate. Please just indicate and let us know you are willing to be part of it. To save us time too, we need to also be conscious of how many minutes, how many seconds individuals can actually have to talk. So please, for now, we take it that individuals can use just 3 minutes to just talk and discuss whatever we need to historicize. Let me use that word. So now we know there is a difference between historicize and historicize. Ladies and gentlemen, we're still starting from the past. But before we start from the past, sir, there have been issues on, people have raised some issues on when you talk about Ife High School. Then what exactly is Ife High School? How do we define? I know you will try to create a background the other time, telling us about the culture and geography. But at the same time, how do we put this in just a simple way in which those who are to interrogate this in future will find it easy to say, when we talk about Ife High School, this is what we are actually talking about. I am going to throw it open in a way, but at the same time, I will need a lead. I'm sorry, I will still have to come back to you. Somebody who has tread a journey before, who has passed through a bridge, should be able to tell more about that bridge than those of us who are just making attempts. Maybe you are the midway, or you are just getting on. You understand what I'm saying? Just briefly, sir, when we say Ife High School, what do we refer to?
Thank you very much. It's a convenient compartmentalization of specific styles and growth within the contemporary Nigerian art. So, if, for example, as a dynamic university producing students yearly for over in the past 50 years, or thereabout, some of these students did not study only at IFE. Some went further to do masters in another school, PhD in another school. Some did bachelor in other schools and came to join IFE for masters or PhD. Some did not even study here at all, but they have been lecturing here. You know, in 1989, when Muyo and other on a group decided to exhibit, we call it IFE, art exhibition, not art school, art exhibition. We actually included our lecturers because we felt that they are the ones that modeled us and produced us. So it could be very inclusive sometimes, but it has to be defined properly in the exhibition you are running. For me, if you have a school, it should be for those students, for those graduates whose spirit of their works relate and resonate the harvest of style, you know, in the universe, from the university. Which might be difficult to classify sometimes. But in a simplified form, whoever graduated from the University of Ife, having been taught and imbibed characteristics of what you can relate to as the school characteristics, you know, belongs to the Ife school. What I would caution is that anytime we are exhibiting, let us define the terminology. There is nothing wrong, for example, to include members of staff who have paid their dues in the department in an art exhibition of the University of Ife. But we find that the school concept here includes our university staff who do not necessarily attend the university, but have made contributions towards the direction of the style. You know? Then if you are doing like this one, this is purely an alumni thing. You know? So it defines itself. So in the school terminology, that should have Usuka school, this school, this, so, you know, a convenient compartmentalization of artistic efforts, especially when you discover that there is a seeming trajectory of relatedness in the product of those students. I will leave it for further explanation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. If I had to, just about 2 or 3 people to just see if we can add to what has been said. Professor Makinde, you have something to say? After that, we'll pass the mic to someone who has done something in the thesis on Ife High School. Let him tell us precisely what.
Thank you, the moderator, and thank you, Dr. Fulani. I think our guy has actually done justice to this topic. But I want to approach it from the point of sustainability. The founding fathers of Ife Art School had a vision which was carried out through their practices and exhibitions in particular. They developed styles which is very unique and identifiable with Ife. This thing has become a generational issue. The time of Kulefula and Imoyo, KDG, and the likes. What they developed at that time, though still exists, but there has been a new development, a new talent, and a new style that is evolving. The present generation of students are doing something fantastic that is not even comparable with what we have seen before. This is in the spirit of Ife Art School, because it's like a building. The first generation of graduates, the 5 graduates, Moyo, Fulani, Wewe, and the likes, laid the foundation which others are building on. And like a design, once you have put on the design of a building, you cannot get to the first story and you change the design, maybe it will not expand, it's going to collapse, or the identity may not be shown. But here in Ife, it has been a consistent activity. There is something to look at. There is something to borrow from. So it is in this spirit of continuity that has sustained what we know as Ife Art School, which is an identity. I want to define Ife Art School as an identity of cultural values. From one of the definitions given by Professor Moyo Okedi, he said, what is, because the foundation of Ife Art School can be associated with honor. Anybody that's not going by the spirit of honor, I don't think is being influenced by Ife Art School. Whether it is the arising or whatever, everything is honor. Whether it is Ara or whatever you call it, is based on the foundation, which is the school. The school is known for the use of aesthetics, ornamentations that are added to art that have been practiced in other schools. Still life drawing as a project is known everywhere and it is available everywhere. But as Ife products, when a particular still life is given as assignment to students, and you have one Ife student there, the touch of Onaism will make him different, and that identity of Ife will show. And it has been a continuous something. So in theorizing or historizing Ife Art School, once there is a sustenance of this legacy, it will not be difficult to actually historize. And to periodize it will also not be difficult, because at a particular time, you see a particular style evolving in another generation, a different style. So it is easy for anybody that wants to write on Ife Art School to actually have the material to write on, because the styles are not the same. But it is still in the spirit of the foundation. It is in the spirit of the foundation, and I want to believe that the school have just started, and the sky is the limit. When, sorry, just a minute more. Dr. Kopola's work here, to me, has combined so many things to sculpture. When you look at it, you don't know, maybe you are looking at painting or you are looking at sculpture. So it is evolving and it is ongoing. And I know another Kopola will still come. When Professor Moyo Okedi was experimenting, we were looking at what is Oga doing? Or Tolawewe with his clay, metal, combination, whatever. Kopola came. But I believe someone else is still coming. But all will be in the spirit of honorism. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rotimi Adirogba, you are welcome. I can see you online. Dokun Ayano, you are welcome. Still talking here of Ife Art School, and I think maybe you will help us put a kind of a final note. Your thesis is based on Ife Art School. So, what is Ife Art School? Please, in 2 minutes. In 2 minutes. I know why I said in 2 minutes. In 2 minutes. No, I'm saying process from this. Don't worry. 2 minutes.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to contribute to this discourse. You know, the question has been asked several times, and then what is Ife Art School, and then what is noisy. There are so many fragments, you know, of the concept Ife Art School, you know, and then you see people, even scholars over the years, they usually create a kind of misunderstanding between what Ife Art School is and what Onoizing or Ono group really is, you know. But I would just, you know, try to do justice, you know, by, you know, historicizing, you know, the concept. The first person that used the term Ife Art School happened to be William Fark, where he was documenting some of the artworks, traditional works, produced in Ife, just sequel to what Leo Frebenus, did in 1910 and 1935, consecutively. So, while he was just looking at the works, he saw certain similarities, certain, uniqueness, and he said because, most of the works, were found, in Ife, precisely the Womanije compound in Ile Ife, and they used the term Ife art. The first time, we find it in literature is Ife art. But the idea of school, in my thesis, I brought in the idea of school because somebody asked me a question, we know of honor, we don't know of Ife art school, as in the case of, the way we know others. Because there's something about other art schools like Unsuka, let's say Unsuka precisely. The way we present ourselves here. Somebody said, okay, we don't even know that they can perform. I'm quoting, Kolade Oshinowana word for word. I remember, Dr. Ajiwe was around. He said, we don't know that you guys can perform, you guys can do something meaningful. So they only see us as, just, a pack of, intellectuals, teachers, academics that are just there doing something. So you cannot compare that with what obtained with Chike Okeke in Usuka. Because when Chike Okeke, got to Usuka, he used a revolutionary approach. He overdrew whatever, Akinala Sheka must have put in place in following the concept of, Noboluism, naturalism, just to stamp, his own faith there. But nevertheless, our lecturers are the founding fathers of the department now. Okay, they have a vision, and the vision is to produce, scholars, artistic scholars, who will be able to advance creative, frontiers, in the country, and who will be able to contribute their own quota, to the issue of culture, art, and creativity. And that is what they try to do. And as a matter of fact, they try to jettison whatever influence that individual artists must have brought into, that works. Like the Oriolo concept, they don't want to associate with that. They want to be just purely academic. Until tomorrow, they refer to Ife High School as, a flock of eggheads. Just to speak grammar, write grammar, not really practicing. But yet, something happened along the line. A group of, graduates came on board, and then they felt that there's a need to do something fresh, something new, something beyond academicism, I said that William Farg, started, using the term, but the term was also used again by Imokwedi, in 1984, when they celebrated 10-year anniversary of Ife High School, 10 years anniversary. And also Babatunde Lawa, they wrote, a kind of, article. There was an exhibition. Our guy here, was there. Akitonde, Boyoke DJ, Kalilu, and the likes. They participated. It's just a celebration. And it was discovered that Ife is highly academic. Notwithstanding, okay, we are also, practical oriented. We are also artistic. We are also even very creative, more than you can even think of. But you see, when they came together to form what we now know as Honorism, okay, what Honor did was to give a kind of flesh, a kind of voice to the conceptual principles of whatever Ife Art School stand for. And so, because they graduated from Ife, the final department, OAU, then University of Ife, and then they now, started a group called Honor, Group of Artists. And what they just did in Honor is that they want to adapt Yoruba cultural values, adaptation of forms, images, anything that has to do with Yoruba or Africa in its entirety. But it must also be said that, the Honor group, was also, influenced. Sorry, you have to give me something so that. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. No problem. We'll continue later.
Because if we leave it to the mic, you turn it to a lecture. We have one day Abila on online. You're welcome. Olariwaju Nasiru, you are welcome. Olariwaju Olufowoju, you are welcome. Please, for those who are joining us, we try to just catch up with the trend. Now you mentioned the fact that from what you have said and from what Dr. Fulani has said, you mentioned the issue of curriculum, which means there must have been a curriculum that served as a kind of a motivation that brought about that synthesis of culture and the practice, I mean, what we have today that we call fusing Yoruba culture and other things. But I know quite well that the people like Eku, who happens not to be a Yoruba person, also keyed into the issue of what was being taught in Ife, for him to be able to project even his own culture, using ornamentation and others in his works. And today, if you talk about Eku, you can see as well the effect in him has brought out the culture in him. I hope that is clear. And that is, I think that is exactly what we are looking at. But we are going to look at this from generation to generation. We want to break it down. And I'm going to just make a ring round. We may just have just about make a round of 2 to 3 generations. I think we have about 3 generations seated here, if I'm not making a mistake. Seated here, unless we have online somebody who may want to join, we want Dr. Fulani to represent. You are not old, sir. You are very. Yes, the gray is there, but at the same time, I still see you as a young person. So you representing that generation of those from the 70s, so that we can bring it up that way, between 70s and 80s. We have Ajiboye here. We have Moroke, who can bridge the gap between 80s and then Ukwadi, who can bridge the gap between 80s and 90s. I hope I'm right. 80s, let me say 80s. Okay? Then in the 90s to coming to 21st century, we can then be taking the likes of the Chukwukola, who take Wole, who else again? The Shegun. But please, I only want just one individual or two to just represent each of the generations. So, get yourself ready. We want to know precisely how you have been able to take from what you met on grant or what you were taught to bring about what we all refer to today as Ife Art School. Can I say that again? How you were able to use what you met on grant or what you were taught to bring about what we're talking about today as Ife Art School. If there's anyone online who wants to contribute to that, please, you are also free. Just indicate so that we know that we can take you on. Let me start from the past. Sir, we want to know what exactly the curriculum was made of that actually engineered this kind of synthesis that later led to anointing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I will try to just be very brief, even though I mean, it's, okay, 3 minutes. Like I said initially, the University of Ife was established, as in the spirit of excellence to research into knowledge, both past, present, and project into the future. So all departments keyed into that philosophy. That was why the motto for the institution is for learning and culture. So as much as you are trying to advocate knowledge, you must consider the factor of culture, as part of learning. So the department had a curriculum. Luckily, we had a coterie of lecturers from different places. Professor Lawal graduated from Usuka, and he just came back from Indiana with a PhD. Professor Ujo was a Zaria guy with Abiodun Roland. He was also Zaria. Ibibami from Zaria, also in ceramics. It was later that Professor Aremu joined us in the 80s. No, in the 70s. He actually came in the 70s, 78. Agbofolari had an experience in Yabate before he went to UK and later to US to do a number of courses. So many of these lecturers actually were employed under the cultural, what do they call it now? Institute of Cultural Studies. And they invented their energy on researching into the culture. Along the line, the Uriolokun that Professor Wangoji, assisted in bringing to Ife, was also became part and parcel of what they were doing. So it was all those robust beginnings that culminated in the establishment of the Fine and Applied Arts Department. We call it Fine Arts Department. And they carried all this knowledge of history, reinvigorating a new idea in a university. Remember that there are other fine art departments, Zaria, Nsukka especially, apart from Yabate, So, because of the intellectual capacity of these individuals and the research mandate that they had, they needed to, and while researching, it's like lecturer, when you are writing a paper, one way or the other, you find a means of telling your students so that you will share ideas with them and see perhaps maybe if you have some suggestions. So we understood the values, the place of research, into culture, and translating it into visual idiom. You see, since we are located in Yoruba land, and there is a similarity, of course, African art. That's when we use the word African, not to talk of Nigerian art. So when we refer to Yoruba art, there might be the possibility of some similar things in other ethnic groups. So their research concept, when we graduated, some of these things didn't make meanings to us as students, but after graduation, we began to question, the relevance of certain things that we have been seeing as Nigerian art. It was the first time, if you study properly, you will discover that most artists then were not using decorative patterns or motifs in their works. It's just normal painting, naturalism, stylized naturalism sometimes that they were doing. And we felt that in Yoruba tradition, for example, there is no sculpture without decorative motif. They will just sculpt and leave it. They will not just create pots and pottery and leave it. They will not leave surfaces without patterns. So why should our sculptors, our painters continue to render images without putting decoration? It's an addition, to the, it's like compliment to the taste acquired by the artist. And we examined and said that, in Yoruba aesthetics generally, let's take oral tradition. You hardly have a traditional person speaking straight in a plain form. There is some circumlocution to what he says. Not to make it obtuse, but to add condiments to the words that he's speaking, because he sees words as creative and as art. When you come to our music, the orchestration, of the various combinations of musical instruments and the vocals constitute dynamic activity that generates the music we listen to. Our dance is not the strut of the dynamic strut in dance is quite complicated. So it's not as simple like this. Simbata. So all those creative tendencies have a kind of grip on both the image and the idea of the art itself. And we said there's nothing stopping us from interrogating some of these things and translating them to artistic work, which we did. I can't speak too long there. You all know the result. I would like to say something, consequent upon Michael's remark about somebody coming to say, we don't know there's art here. Don't forget that there is politics even in schools of art. People tend to want to water one school down and highlight the areas. We have been exhibiting as a school since 1987. Like you mentioned, the Ministry of Culture, led by Igobokweni, did the 10th anniversary in 1984, and we have been exhibiting since then. The best of Ife came in 1993, and it's consistently exhibited, until recently. So anybody cannot come and say, we don't know Igbo are doing things. What they said then was that our art was hard. They call it hard art. I wrote it somewhere, because it's an academic art, it's intellectualized. It's not just Mushi Olosha. You could use Mushi Olosha, but you could use marketing, but it's not the market that is inherent in it. Because you cannot be thinking like a pedestrian with a bachelor. Okay? So you must advocate, knowledge is key to production. So those are just, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All I know is the canvases you see in those days that comes from Ife creates the identity. By the time you see the canvas, you understand quite well that you are not just looking at images. You are also reading images, and you are trying to understand them. It may be a bit complex, but if you are able to sit and discern, you understand precisely the message. If artists don't just paint portraits and whatever, because there are backgrounds to the image, and there are reasons for painting, not just because you want something beautiful, but you also want something that will send a kind of a message that you need to sit down and understand. Thank you very much, sir, for that. I will call on, please, before I call on Dr. Ajiboye, there is Adebayo Adewumi trying to raise up hand. Adebayo Adewumi, I think, should belong to which of the generations now, so that I can just, whether I should talk now or talk later. Okay, just hold on, Adewumi, please. Let's have Dr. Ajiboye, who want to relate the 70s with the 80s and the 90s. Yes, because we can see when we are looking at X here, though I know yours is an inherited one, but at the same time, when we are looking at X, when we are looking at X here, we can tell that your head is similar to somebody's chin. So we'll take Dr. Ajiboye. I think Mr. Kwade may want to put in one or two things. You were here late 80s. I hope I'm right. And you could talk about, and then you find yourself in a particular specialization that preceded some others. The ceramics, the pottery. So, sir, your pottery in those days, what actually informed the kind of pots you produce that made it so necessary for people to transport pots from Ife to Lagos for exhibition? I still remember vividly those giant pots that were exhibited in Lagos. So why the pots? Why those unique creation of pots? Let's have that. Thank you.
Well, thank you, my moderator. Well, in the 80s, when we came to Ife, though we met Obafemi Awolowo University and not the University of Ife, but that notwithstanding, before I came to Ife in 87, that would be late 80s, I had the opportunity of having met with some of Ife products that taught me at my College of Education in Nauru, precisely Professor Akintonde and Mr. Ehe Areo. The two of them taught me, and I know that they have passed through Ife before. So it's like getting a bit of Ife even before I finally joined Ife. So the tradition of Ife started with me while I was still at the College of Education in 1983. And we were taught on how to handle pots. Mr. Areo will come around and will tell you what you are doing is not normal. I know you must have learned this from Ife. that when you are building your pot and you are not doing it well, you just come and say, you will move back, you will ask for your spatula or your pen knife, and before you open your eyes, he has cut almost all the pots away. He will ask you to bring your plate, your coin, and then make some corrections for you, and then you start all over again. So we learned by our teachers teaching us, not standing aloof, not giving us instruction. They use our hands to do the work. So, and that is the way we learned how to do the work. And when I was fortunate to come to Ife, I saw that what is being done in Ife is more similar to what I've been doing before. And this actually helped me a lot. And I think in my own set, I was able to put through some of my colleagues too, that this is the way to do it. In fact, sometimes they will come around and look at me as if I've been doing the thing for years. And that is like, I understand exactly what to do and how to do it. So when we eventually become teachers, especially in Ife, in the university, we were able to teach our own students too how to go about it, so that tradition, that is the tradition, continues. It's a continuum. Whether you like it or not, either you are sleeping or you are not sleeping, it is part of you. So that when you want to make your pots, for example, I used to tell my students that go out and see people making pots. There is nobody that makes pots like Ife. Ife's pots are unique. And why is it unique? Because of the embedments, the decorations. And I told them, I said, if you have 40 pots without decoration, they are the same. But let an Ife person come around and sit down by each of the pots and put unique decorations. You will see that the pot will start telling stories. And this is what I think is very common with our works. Even irrespective of where you are making the work from. Either is it metal, is it clay, is it clothing. Our works always tell stories. And the stories are about where we are coming from. So if anybody joins us, like my moderator mentioned the other time, is bound to take up that culture, irrespective of where it's coming from. So we have seen that even art school always overwhelm anybody that comes into it. So that when the person goes out, if he goes back to his own culture, you will see that he's different. He will become a different person entirely because of having wrong mind with the way that Ife does his own work. So it's a very unique tradition that we are fortunate to inherit. And this is exactly what we are always trying to sell, to make our upcoming generations also buy. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Akiboye, you link up, but let me quickly put it across. We have online those who have joined too. Balola Osisami, you're welcome. I can also see here Shade Fagurusi, you're welcome. I've mentioned Abila one the other time. Dr. Akiboye, you need to connect two generations now. The 70s and the 80s. And then those who will speak after you, the 90s to the present. You are 90s. 91? 94. Aha, it's still okay, 94. The head is confusing. The head is confusing. So let's call Dr. Akiboye. Please let us know. You did painting. We've heard about pots that does not just talk, but that tell stories. We've heard about pots that you just not just see plain pots, but you see pots that are beautiful enough to stand in sitting rooms, to occupy space within galleries, not just pots for the kitchen. You understand it? Now, let's extend it to that aspect of paintings. You understand? And other two dimensions. Before we come to generations where we have sculptures also creating wind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my Yoga. Never mind my gray hair. This one came out as a result of so much reading. When you talk about gray hair, there are seniorities. There are original gray hair and there are circumstantial gray hair. This one is a circumstantial gray hair. So now when we got to the department, I got to the department in 1990. My number is 903-905-3358. 903-3358. I think Joseph was the next one after me. 903-3359. Now, we met on ground. Two things. Honor was gyrating powerfully. Now, academically, we met in the department a philosophy. And that philosophy is look inward into your culture and bring out the art. We were taught that art, until today, I don't think there's any philosophy that will tell you something different. Art is usually a reflection of a people, their culture, their philosophy, their history, their religion, their tradition. And so art does not exist in a vacuum. It will reflect something. It will reflect a people. We are in the Yoruba environment. We, most of us, are Yoruba people. And so we are taught, go into your culture, learn about your culture, and bring out your art. And so we had electives in sociology, in Yoruba, in traditional religion. And we were taught several things about the Yoruba culture. Their religion, their language, their sociology, the way they live, the way they group together, the way they meet, the way... Everything about Yoruba culture, you cannot miss it. That was what we met. And when we were given assignments, to bring out that culture in us. We were given titles to bring out that culture in us. And we had no way to express ourselves then, but to go deep into Yoruba culture. We read about Morimi, we read about Obatala, we read about the Yoruba pantheons, we read about several traditional stories, and to now express ourselves in design, we had something good to rely on. The honor group was generated there, and so we had something to influence us. We saw how they used motifs. Their motifs were not just used for the beauty, the aesthetics of it. The motifs were also used for the symbolic Yoruba meaning of the motifs. And so we learned that not just lines, but lines with meaning. Not just motifs, but motifs with culture. Not just designs for beauty, but designs for beauty, for story, for history, and for tradition. And that was what we met, and that was what we practiced till we graduated. By the time we graduated, we also went to Best of Ife, and then many other schools, many other groups, many other styles, many other formations came out. Two things now cannot be said about the Ife Art School. What are those peculiarities that will differentiate that Ife Art School? One, the themes that are portrayed by the Ife Art School is usually within the Yoruba philosophy. Now, the style that are usually displayed usually reflect the designs of the Yoruba calabash, the Yoruba textile, the Yoruba mat weaving, the Yoruba traditional designs, art forms generally, and that is what you see. Those two things characterize the Ife. So look for the theme, look for the expression of the designs, then you'll be able to identify it as.
Thank you very much. culture defines the art in a way, which means if you are not attuned to your culture, you may not have an art that perhaps could be linked even directly to you or indirectly to you. We'll get there. My HOD, you are welcome. I also want to welcome Pelumi Kwamile. Before I pick on those who are seated, do you say Adewumi Adebayo is of 90s? Is that what you said, or 2000? 2000 and what? 2005. Let me have a sculptor who will help us create a kind of a link. There is a sculptor who is sitting somewhere there. When we were exhibiting when we were trying to go around for the 38th anniversary, and people were submitting works, and we look at all the works, they are all painting and graphics. Then we will ask ourselves, is it possible that people who have graduated there, who have done ceramics and sculpture, will not have produced works? But fortunately for us, there were those who were into ceramics, who were staff. So we already have their works. So we were looking for sculpture. And somebody told me there is somebody who works with the ministry in Lagos. And that was why we went in search for Cobbler. We called him Cobbler. So, no, let us go to that. We want to know what exactly, because today, before we will talk about the sculptures we have now, we've seen your own sculpture, and we know quite well that you must have gone through some other trainings, but at the same time, we're still able to look at your work and not just link it with other trainings you had, but we still have some affinities with it. So how did you do that? 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, sir. To sculpt is very simple and very difficult. But more importantly, one's background is very, very important. Because no matter how beautiful your work is, if the work could not be linked with your cultural base, like Baba Adiboye Josi and Oshinawa said, the artist is already a failure. So with that, I was conscious of if I'm going to have any piece, what is going to be my theme. The theme is very, very important so that they can link the theme with your background regardless of the medium you are exploring. And with that, I focus that in my work and I make sure I don't exceed that parameter so that once people see my work, they can actually see, aside the motifs used in finishing the work, the motifs is very important. And at the same time, the theme of my expression is very, very germane in identifying my work with the Ife Art School. The exhibition Dr. Ademulaya just said, I was surprised when he insisted that he's going to exhibit 5 pieces from me, which is very, very unusual, but that is the way he did it, just to encourage others. And today, the tempo is keeping on rising, and it will continue to rise in the direction of the Ife philosophy. Thank you.
So, in spite of the fact that you're using a kind of a medium others were using, you did not leave out the aspect of your theme that still connects you with your base. I was just asking if it is possible to beam works. Well, I was just told that it may be a bit tight. Because I would have loved the situation as we have spoken to it, we are able to also interrogate those works. But don't worry, let's just keep on. Shegun, I know you were here in the 19 what?
1999.
1999, and you cut into 21st century. All right, that will help us. So, how do we link this? You've heard from him. I know you are not working in his style, but at the same time, are you also embracing the same theme, or what exactly informed yours that we can actually link this with Ife?
Thank you, sir. By the grace of God, I was able to join the Ife Art School in the year 1999. So when we came on board with my set, what we noticed then was that, most especially in the ceramic studio, there were pots on display there. Big gigantic pots with ornamentation, especially the anointing symbols on most of the pots. So that really influenced our expression, creative expression, in most especially pottery. Whenever my aunt here, Dr. Nana Moroke, give us assignments to do, then what we normally do, we don't usually put figurative designs on the pots. We use mostly the anointing to decorate the pots. Then the tradition had really influenced my creative expression in sculpture. Mostly in relief sculptures, whenever I'm working on any sculptural relief work, I use the anointing to actually fill mostly the background of the figurative work, especially the Oriolokun at the Mayfair roundabout. I used the anointing mostly on the base, the round base of 3 layers at the roundabout there. Then what I normally use mostly in the anointing is the horizontal line and the vertical line that are placed on top of each other. So I use it as a texture to texturize my sculptural work. Mostly, I use that a lot, up to date. So I've been really influenced by the tradition. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Ogunle Yadefunke, you are welcome on board. Oladimeji Okoye, I can see you. We also have Titobi. Okay, I wouldn't know who is Macro Lab. We also have. I think we can go on. I want to welcome our brother. This man has been so passionate about art, in spite of the fact that he's an administrator. You're welcome, sir. Thank you for being in our midst. Mr. Adedoyi, you're welcome, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the next generation. Unless we have, I wouldn't know if there's anybody from the older generation. Before I proceed, we want to say one or two things. Sir, just give me a minute. There's somebody hanging on online. Can we, please, before we go for that, can we take Adewumi Adebayo? Adewumi Adebayo. Are you still there? No. If you are there, unmute yourself. And let's have you. Please, you have 3 minutes. Hello. Yeah, 3 minutes, please.
Afternoon. Can we?
We can hear you.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. First, since we're talking about culture, I want to greet everybody in the Yoruba manner. I greet all the elders. I greet all my uncles, aunties, colleagues, and everyone. I just wanted to say that addition to what every other speaker has said, there are two things that distinguish the Ife Art School in my own understanding. And the first thing is the democratic culture, the democratic nature of the Yoruba culture, you know, that gives both the young and the old. You know, in Ile-Ife, it is believed that both the wisdom of the old and the young was what was used to create the foundations of the city of Ife. And that is also very important for what we met in Ife Art School. It wasn't so much of the lecturers trying to give us an idea or their own idea. There was freedom of expression in terms of what we understood. And in terms of our practice after the Ife Art School, a lot of my colleagues, even outside of using motifs, we are also able to infuse, you know, the ideas of Yoruba traditions, cultures, idioms, proverbs, even within our designs, in terms of graphic design, in terms of even animations. You know, some of us are documenting the stories of our the gods, the myths, Shango, and all of that. And, you know, we see ourselves as custodians of that culture. And even beyond those of us who are Yorubas, those of us who are also Igbos and from other cultures have also been able to take from that and also create expressions that speak to our culture. So it has become a form of identification for us in Ife Art School. And one thing that we are glad of is the fact that other art schools or other art products from different art schools are also beginning to take after that in trying to contextualize their art with stories that are trying to contextualize their art with stories and not just art for art's sake. You know, it's a form of rebellion that is allowed in democracy. You know, you can take that form. So thank you very much. I'll stop at that for now. Thank you. I hope I didn't exceed my time.
Thank you very much. You have made a very good comment there. Thank you very much. And your remark has actually brought to forth certain things that we observed sometimes, I think, in the late 90s, when we went to some exhibition of the Yabate people. And when we were looking at the works, we were joking, we were cracking jokes among ourselves that these people are also don't know that they are already infusing ornamentations and whatever into their production. And that tells us that the idea itself could be seen like a virus that is catching up with some victims. You understand it? And whether we like it or not, today, it has become an influence on many. It has gone beyond just the Ife High School. Many other schools are already keyed into it, and they see that it is even pleasant for them to, good for them to use their culture, not just to decorate, but also to tell stories. Thank you very much, Adiwumi. God bless you. Going further, my HOD, you wait to let's finish this so that you can tell us a bit about the administration aspect of it. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring in. Where's Dr.
I'm here.
Sorry. You are wearing the cowboy, so I wouldn't know whether you are. Now we've heard from the not too old. Let me put it that way. Not too old. Young at that, and we heard from the uncles, the elderly brothers. I think between the coming generation and the elderly generation, you will perhaps find yourself caught up in that particular category. I'm trying to look around to see whether we can also have somebody of such here, so that there could be two people who will speak to that. Maybe before we do. This your mask will not. Adeku. So. Adeku is the one that did the work at the back there, that installation there, that conceptual art. So we will come to that, because at times when we talk about Ife High School, many perhaps would think it's just about painting and putting ornamentations and whatever. We know we have to talk about history, we talk about folk tales, folklores and things like that are beauty to it. So you talk to us. So we have the two of them representing that generation. Dr. Kokola will speak about not just your work, but the work of those of you who perhaps were in school at the same period, and the productions and the works you have today. Then we'll listen to Adiku also to break the gap, so that we have a kind of a chronology. It won't just be a matter of what we had from somebody. Dr. Kokola, please.
Thank you so much for this privilege. I got into Obafemi Awolowo University 2005. You know, I came in from a polytechnic, you know, as a direct entry student. And so when I got to Ife, I saw that, man, you needed to read more. You can't just produce work for your lecturers to get good grades. Where I was coming from, you know, we just do more of practicals, you know, like. But when I got to Ife, almost all my sets between 2005 till 2014, I was there from 2005. I finished 2008. Then I came back again. Almost all of us were just so curious. The truth of the matter is that what we met on ground, we met Onoism, but we don't even understand what Onoism is. They tell us today is a Yoruba motif, tomorrow is just decoration. Next, you know, we get a lot of information. Fine, some of us were so distracted by Y2K compliance, you know, we have a lot of computers coming in, we're learning graphics, we are learning, you know, 3D Max and different things. We had a lot of things to learn from year 2000. And I can tell you it's getting worse now, because now you have to be 3D, everything is 4D, NFT and also. There are many things you have to come back, and you feel that if I start doing or not, it looks like out of the old. You understand? So we were battling between should we do what our elders were doing, or should we do the new thing? But one thing I've seen that is, you know, is constant in our set is that no matter how we try to do what is trending, you still find yourself, you know, romancing the honor, because it's so beautiful. You can't run away from beautiful things. By the time you do a portrait that is so clean, without you putting motif that would, you know, add spice to that work, you won't be fulfilled. That is the kind of, you know, the training we had. And I'm a little bit worried for the coming generation, because they don't even have time for all that. But I hope that this kind of structure would encourage, you know, them to further revisit the history of the past, you know, to utilize the present, so that they can have a good projection for the next ideas of, you know, creative exploration that is coming. Thank you so much, sir.
I'm standing on existing protocols, and greetings to all the patriarchs and matriarchs in the house. Thank you for this historical movement and how far you've come. So I'll be speaking about the future, the present and the future. What Ife Art is most noted for is excellence. And just like the speaker who talked on Zoom, talked about how it's the wisdom of the young and the old that helps create what we currently have. If your art school brought us into a space where there's always someone at your shoulder checking what you're doing. I'm going to cite an example of what happened. We had an assignment. I entered the university in the year 2011, and I graduated painting in 2015. And then we submitted an assignment in the first year, and Dr. Ebin Sheba of late memory was the one assessing the work. And then when he saw my work, then he was like, "Who is this? What is this you've done? Are is this not your name?" this is rubbish. Like, you are misrepresenting where you came from. And it's exactly what the Ife Art School does. There are always the 400-year level students who are infusing their level of excellence into the year one student. And it's not, I'm senior and then you're just coming, no, it's like, I'm doing this, you can do it also. And we can do it now. And that excellence has kept evolving the Ife Art School into many spheres. If you talk about any space, you will find an Ife guy dominating excellently. And then I'll move on to speaking about future. Art has evolved just like every other thing has evolved, because art has now become a solution to problems. And in so many fields, we have artists from Ife here who are applying artwork to solving medical problems. We have artists who are applying artwork to solving environmental problems, like Mr. Dotson himself. We have artists who are applying their works in the NFT space, which is a very new niche presently. And the good thing about this is the future is beautiful. I remember Danny over here spoke about politics, that there's politics in the art schools. Some schools always try to feel like, oh, we're better than this and all that. But then the way the world is going now is we are being opened up even to the international world without any barrier or restriction. We can take what is so beautiful that we could not live. Like when we were talking about the amazing, we could not live it regardless of whatever tech we are working with. But then we can take it to the world and then we could apply it to problems of so many races in such a way that it will no longer be sidelined that someone like Picasso was a student of African mask. And it will no longer just be something that when you mention in a biography of a man like that, it just won't be a line. It will be that indeed, Ife is great art, and then it should be applied to what is in the now. So what is in the now? Presently, the world has reached a blockchain system, and some of us might have heard about cryptocurrencies, and some of us might have heard about NFTs also. And before, an artist could do a work, and then you will find a guy in Lagos who had printed a version of that work, and who is hawking it for 5,000 naira. And then the artist who created the work is not even earning at all. But what the NFT has brought to us is you can track your work. We know what is original and what's fake. And then the artist can always keep being compensated on this. So research has been the strongest power of the Ife Art School. And it's important that whenever anything new comes in, we can always keep harnessing these things. And then we can use it to the power of propagating the excellent art that we've been given already. In tech, it's applicable, just as we mentioned, the cryptocurrency, the NFT. There's going to be metaverse soon. We already have metaverse, actually, but it's just in the very small. How many have heard about metaverse? Maybe I might have to introduce it. Okay. So now, if you spend some time on Facebook, that time you are spending on Facebook, you are spending it in an unrealistic world. So that is what we call meta. It's a space that is taking your energy, time, even resources. It's a real space, but it's intangible. So, but that same space is evolving so that the man who just spoke to us on Zoom spoke to us through a meta platform. But it's going to evolve somewhere we are going to be having such people appear in meetings like this virtually. And then who is going to create a physical representation of those people, if not artists? So there's so much need for us now than in time past. Before it used to be that artists, what are you even doing studying art? Like it's what people could overlook and just sideline. Okay, but we are no longer in that world. And thank God that we have this 60 years of greatness available to us. I want us to embrace unbiased collaboration between the generations and the school itself, so that we can keep having wonderful stories to tell. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You have just opened up the next and perhaps the last phase before we get to conclude, and that is talking about projection. And we have here people, students who are just in the making. But before that, so I want to call on Professor Makinde, who has one thing or the other to quickly say, because I think you have another engagement. Can you put that across so that we can then go into projection? How do we see Ife Art School in future? Immediate future, and then whatever we call future, whether from this evening or from tomorrow, how do we see Ife Art School?
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. Someone mentioned the curriculum the other time. When you talk of a curriculum alone cannot do it. I think the spirit of Ife Art School lies in the foundation or formation of Onaism, which is buried in our subconscious mind. Anybody that comes to the department is influenced automatically by this spirit of Onaism. I want to believe that the final applied art department here is like one of the churches. I want to liken it to a church. No matter how spiritual you may be, as a Baptist, a Catholic, an Anglican, Methodist, you will never go in trance. No matter what, no matter the influence of the Holy Spirit, you just worship and you come out. But if you are the least spirited and you attend a Cherub and Seraphim church, you are taken away by trance, which means it is an embedded, an established cult. So once you step into the department, like the Lado we mentioned now, the influence you get from your fellow students, from the lecturers, is enough for you without any recourse to the curriculum. The curriculum does not specify that you have to do the art in a particular way. There's no curriculum that says that. But from what you get around you, from the spirit that surrounds you, you discover that you are also keen into what others are doing. And that is what has been sustaining this Onaism or Ife Art School. So for us to achieve more and to cut across all the ages here, that culture must continue. And most especially for those of us that are lecturers here, we need to encourage our students to work in that. Sometimes you see a student working a different style from what is specified. I want to say it in the open ear that we should tolerate such students, because we don't know what is going to bring out in future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Ladies and gentlemen, what do we expect of Ife Art School from now on? This is a free zone. Please, if you have... Okay. So please, before that, I will give it to Dr. Flani to speak to us. Please, feel free, even if you are a student, and with the little you have taken, you have an idea of what you expect and what you would like to see in the next 10, 15, 20 years of Ife Art School. Think deep. You are free to speak. Let's have it put in the kind of a perspective that will help you also. Sir?
Thank you very much. I just want to mention one or two things that we didn't say while discussing the gains of the past. We already talked about the fact that this is a university, and in universities we talk about intellectuals. So students were built to be intellectuals. I don't know what obtains in your curriculum now, but those days you will do philosophy, literature, English, Yoruba, French, all the available courses. You pick. If you are taking 3 from fine art, you take 3 from other courses. So you build yourself up, in terms of knowledge, not only knowledge of art, but general knowledge. And it has created intellectuals among the Ife School. If you look around, you had many people who have done PhD. They have their PhDs. Some getting to the apogee of their career as professors or whatever, wherever they work. This also affords, you know, a kind of poetic thinking in many of the university of the graduates. Apart from Nsuka, that also does that, Isife that does that. You see them, you know, having dreams in poetic verses, and they are notable. You see, the essence of education is about dreaming. The essence of intellect is to dream, so that you can navigate the future. There are people, they call them prophets, you know, who predicted many years back what 2022 might be like. There was something I was watching 2 days ago that said somebody predicted that between 2016 and 2020, there will be a very dynamic change. And between 2020 and 2022, the changes that didn't occur in 100 years would have occurred in the world. And it's the change of new, you know, the new normal. I mean, you can see somebody on Zoom addressing us here. You see his or her image will appear and verbalize whatever he wanted to say. And we should look futuristic in our discipline. I'm so much impressed by the presentation of Mr. Adewubi. You know, we must be futuristic. What are we doing now? How do we think we will survive in the future? There was a time they said Izu painting was dead, though it didn't die. You know, there will be a time when digital art might be taken over. You know, what are we going to contribute? You know, in terms of reversing and rehearsing our curriculum to focus on things that are more knowledge-based, technology, you know, virtual appropriation of circumstances that exist today. Because, and when we talk about art, don't let us limit it to the practice of it only. You know, there are so many valves, so many streams of opportunities that art will function. And it is important for us to do that. I was particularly happy when later, almost everybody picked up the concept of application of motifs in their works, not even from Ife School. Even up to Mr. Oshinowo, if you see his students' works, you will see motifs there. You know, many of them, they are using motifs up to the point that our national football jersey has motifs. You can't think of national jersey having motifs 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Now we have motifs, African motifs, you know, adorning the jerseys. So while discussing about the future, please let us project about the new knowledge, the new normal. How can we survive as artists? What can we do? It's difficult to live without the artists anyway, because we are the one that conceptualizes ideas. We are the one that translates ideas into images. Whether it is going to be virtual or whatever, there must be image. The computer itself, to develop all the icons, must have been done by some artists. And in creating the space for the artist, let us also think not only of professionalism of the art, let us think about in building creativity and critical thinking in others. You know, you use creative art to build creativity and creative thinking in others. They could be surgeons, but they will do it in a creative way because we have taught them how to be creative. They could be, you know, whatever. You know, they will put it in a way that it will be new and fresh. And so, it's a big challenge because Africa has shortage. We have, you know, pendulum of problems that we are yet to meet up. We are like 200-300 years behind some advanced countries. So how we are going to translate that deficiency into strength, you know, for the future? I think that's what we should concentrate on. Thank you.
So you've had
We've heard from him, he has opened it up. Can we listen to one or two young chaps who will want to speak? Yes. In fact, I'm happy you get to speak because you are from English. I'm right? Yeah. And it doesn't matter whether you are from English or you are from Fine Art Department. You are involved in creativity. So let's hear you.
I want to thank the whole department for giving me the opportunity to speak first, because I know I'm not from your department. The first thing I noticed is I'm the only one not from the department, and that's really surprising to me. I've always been interested in art, and I wanted to speak on the fact that I'm actually an extra year student. I've been in the university for 4 years, and I've not been able to attend any exhibition from I personally. It may be a fault of my own, but it's more of the fact that I don't hear about it. The information doesn't really circulate to all the other departments. And the reason why I'm saying this is I have friends in Lagos that attend Unilag, and they themselves are always organizing exhibitions that I attend. So I know, and I'm not even in their school, and I'm always hearing about their exhibitions and what they're doing and how external bodies are helping them. And these are people that in part 2, part 3, before they even get to their final year, that have their works at exhibitions. So while you were speaking, I'm sorry, I was asking about the exhibitions, and I was hearing that passport students do exhibitions, but that's usually at the department. Then there's like yearly exhibition that they do sometimes here. But to me, I'm like, is that enough to showcase what Ife Art School is doing? Is that enough for all the other students to know? Because the reason why I'm in love with that, I used to draw when I was younger, but I stopped and started focusing on poetry, so I'm a poet now. But there's not a lot of that people seeing or recognizing the art that is coming out from Ife Art School. And when I think about the outside world, let's not forget the school. I don't hear that, oh, this is an Ife Art School alumni, this is an Ife Art School student. This work was created by an Ife Art School person. So it's amazing to see that this is what exists, but the point I'm trying to get to is there's no involvement from the other departments to know that we actually have these creatives or this amount of creativity in the school. And there's also no information to get people like me that are interested in it fully involved in the movement and fully involved in what the production and art of the Ife Art School. Yeah, that's what I want to add. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your observation. You have thrown a challenge, that is one. I will tell you too that it is not as if people are not exhibiting. It's not as if product of the department have not been exhibiting. At a point in time, we used to have what you have the best of Ife. You must have heard in the discussion. And I know quite well there was an effort at a point in time to also have another exhibition. But individuals have been participating in different exhibitions. And I'm quite sure you must have seen this on the university something, or how did you get information for this? For some friends. You see, the issue, we will continue to do that, but I must also tell you, at times our environment is growing a bit cold to something of this nature. How would you know how we'll get to that? It's been, the advertisement for this program has been on the OAU website for some time now. We spread it to some other departments and whatever, and then you expect that with that, you will still have people here. But we always complain we are busy, and we don't do what interests us. Everybody is always busy. You are busy and yet you are here. But what you have thrown the challenge really. I think maybe we have not been doing enough. We'll try as much as possible to extend. We are also planning to have, now that we have this, not that we have secured this space, but this organization, this arrangement has made it known to us that it is possible to have a space like this for exhibition. And we are already planning that at every time there will be convocation, there must always be exhibition. We have been having it before, but the venue for such exhibition has always been an issue, because you can't stay there at Floho till a particular period. Once the convocation is over, they are already telling you to come and pack your things. But here we have been able to identify that it is possible to actually do something of this nature. And so we are thinking fast that at every convocation time, as you are having convocation drama, you are having this, there should also be convocation exhibition. So Just have that in mind, and we know quite well what will help us with that. And besides that, we are also thinking, and we're working towards it. Once we are able to have a space, a gallery that we are working on, you will always have exhibition from time to time. Maybe on a monthly basis, students can have their exhibitions and have their works at least from time to time. But you see, the issue of space is important. Here, we struggle for space. As a matter of fact, where we occupy now, there are people who are fighting and they are quarreling that why should this place be assigned for this particular exhibition. But thank God for the 60 by 60 that the VC and some others are interested. So we have in this space. So space has been an issue, but at the same time, I can assure you, you have thrown the challenge and something will come out of that. Thank you very much. Can we have, yes, you want to tell us how the future will look like based on what we've had? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be in this program today. I am most grateful. Our fathers and uncles have spoken and reiterate the substance, the synergetic influence of the culture, the artistic heritage of Ife Art School, and understanding the concept of contemporaneity and the influence on each generation. I've got to understand that, okay, the reason why we, the current undergraduates, have gotten to this point that we want to actually do something different is because it is imbibed into us through academic curriculum to not just do art for art's sake, but to look beyond and do something different that will resonate our cultural heritage. And personally, I'm a painter, and I've been thinking of how I'm going to do something that will show forth that academic excellence. So, talking about the future, we can see that artists, as we are able to create new things from old ones by building and constructing, reconstructing, and adding new knowledge to what has been in existence to bring forth something that is beyond normal, that is beyond what we used to have. Okay, talking about the past, talking about Onoism, I didn't know about Onoism. In fact, as a matter of fact, I got to know about it recently from one of our classes, and I went online to study about it, and I thought, oh, this is what they call Onoism, Arism, and all that. So, appreciating this value that has been left behind by the fathers of the past, we set to build something different, something new, that resonates the culture that has been in the past, yet we show forth our own personal identity as artists, and I believe that is what art is tending to in the future time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to respond to the challenge on the use of new technologies. And I just want to assure you, sir, that in the last 3 years, we'll be having students who are actually taking advantage of the new technologies, even for projects. We have students who are already working on digital art for their projects, and they're doing well. They're doing very well. We know quite well that as we are able to key to it, because the curriculum is just a minimum standard, and we are also trying to catch up with time. As much as we are able to get the opportunity of facilities that will help us tap into the technology, we also allow students to express themselves using the technologies. When you come to the department after this, if you are able to pay the visit, you go around, you will see how the students have used the new technologies to also come up with certain things that has helped even in the development of the facilities we have there. So we are also projecting into the future. I know it may be a bit slow because of our own environment, but whether we like it or not, we have no choice because we can't afford to be left behind. Okay, you have a, Kokola will speak, the head of the department will give a closing remark, and then we wrap it up. Thank you. I've asked. Oh, is there anyone who wants to? Any comment? No. Okay.
Well, thank you so much. For me, I think the future is so bright. Recently, I stumbled on something on the internet on how to create my sculpture from the system. I mean, this is my metal sculpture, the Ogogo Jerry and the rooster. How to create such a thing just on my system and feed it to the computer to use my 3D printer or whatever. So I felt the traditional sculpture that I learned in school is becoming, I don't know. Now, I had to go and buy, a tab. Then with my pen, I can pull the clay on my system and sculpt in 3D. Now, when you finish your 3D, there are two things that can happen. Is that you sell it on NFT, or you get a 3D printer and print it and start selling. Now, the future is so bright that there was a time the kind of welding we learned in school is the one, we use electrode and weld. But in a place like US, you use TIG welding, MIG welding. Now there's robot welding. You have to feed whatever you want to weld, get the iron on ground, and create your own hand and your electrode and feed the wire to your robot that you create by yourself, and it will do all the welding. Basically, you just probably gonna put the iron down and the robot will be doing the welding. It will reduce your human stress. So we see that the future is so bright. For painting, my first degree was in sculpture, then my master's was in painting. For painting, then I remember Mr. Jiboye would tell us you have to draw your portrait with your free hand and freehand sketch and also. But now, a lot of guys will tell you, I don't have money to buy paint, I don't have money to buy acrylic, I don't have money to buy, brush. So you just go into digital painting. And if you finish painting, the NFT is also there. These guys they are moving so fast. So I feel everybody should also encourage this key into the future. That's the right word. Just key into the future. Because a lot of people are actually mentally lazy. The coming generation now, they are so busy with making money rather than, learning new technology, learning new things. They just want to make the money sharp. So I feel that we should key into technology, put hard work and, tenacity and many things, bring everything together. And I see that the future is so bright. Thank you so much.
We can't but key into the new technologies. We can't but key into the new technologies. But you see, when you say you're going to use a particular, whether you are using saxophone or you are using trumpet or whatever, it depends on what you have within. If you have nothing in you, there is nothing you want to key in. So the idea must be there. And once you have the idea, the environment and all other things will supply the idea. If you have not passed through a bridge before, you may not know how it looks like. But passing through the bridge will give the idea, and then using the technology, your idea becomes a reality. And people are able to at least interrogate that. Whether you sell on FT or whatever, it becomes something strong. So, young generation, key to the idea of the new technologies. You have just, I'll give you 1 minute, then you give it to my HOD too.
I wanted to add to what he was saying. I have friends in the NFT space, and there's this new thing they're doing, which is called AI paintings and AI sculptures, whereby they don't do any work. They just feed information to the computer, and the computer paints and sculpts everything. So based on that, I wanted to say, with how everything is going, I feel like the most value in art will be in handcrafted things in the future, because of how mass-produced art will be very soon, from every type of art. So I feel personally, in the future, if you still have the ability to create handcrafted things by yourself, that's where, traditionally, that's where the value would be. That's what I said. Thank you.
Sorry, sir. You see, what he has just said, I just want you to look at this. We already have that in China, whether you like it or not. There, you have access to mass production of works, and people still go into the interior to villages to buy the craft, expensive craft, expensive because it is still handmade. There will still be space. You understand? There is no way there will still be space for those who can use their hands, and it is then you know the value of the work itself. But what we are saying is, We now have a template. There's a technology that will help you even when you don't have any means. You have a technology that you could use to express yourself. So it's not that I must look for, but for those who are still covers, for those who are still into modeling or casting or whatever, those into a craft, weaving and what, they will still have their own way, because people will still be interested in the real thing, and they will still go for the real thing. Thank you.
Thank you. The last word, developing the university museum. It's very important that, you know, the department begins to, you know, look into developing an art museum within the university. Now that the management had already approved art as a functional image in the society, we should pursue it. Yabatek recently, about 2 years ago, opened a museum using Ford Foundation as support, and it's within their territory. Most universities that, you know, can call itself a university always have an art museum, and sometimes their collections are even bigger than, you know, some of their nationals. So this is a big opportunity for us to, if it was where there was money, you know, or we had more time to do planning, the collection could start from here. Because I don't see when you want to gather 50 years generation artwork together. Pick 1 or 2 or 3 from each generation and we begin to make collections. And we retain some of the very good works our students are doing, so that it will be part and parcel of the museum. It will eventually fetch money for itself. You know, it will run first by, you know, donations and grants. Later it will begin to fetch money for itself. And, you know, it's something that we should seize the opportunity of letting the university know that this is our intention. They have big alumni, you know, who are very rich, generous, and if we approach them, some of them are willing to do things like this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Just talking about museum, we have online Engineer Yemisi Shilon. Engineer Yemisi Shilon. Is he still there? And Wale. Let's take Engineer. You still have Engineer Yemisi Shilon on? Okay, let's take Wale. If you have Engineer Yemisi again, we take them. You see, it's good that at least we have this opportunity just getting into technologies, and now you can see that people are coming, and that's exactly what we see. Let's have Wale, please. And after that, we have Engineer Yemisi Shilon. Let's have Kolawole Ogunowo.
Ogundawole.
Okay, Ogundawole.
Yes.
Okay.
Professor Ogundawole. Yeah, it's very interesting. I praise your effort organizing this and inviting us. One thing that is very, very interesting in artwork is that it always represents the national character of the artist, which you put as being the motif. In a multi-national society like Nigeria, it becomes very difficult when people misunderstand and misapply the concept nation or national to representing the all Nigeria instead of the Yoruba nation, the Tiv nation, the Bashama nation, and so on and so forth. When you want the real art, an artwork that passes all time and space, it has to be the embodiment of that motif, the national character, not the mass culture type of, using computer to produce, the computer or the robot to produce. But when you use your hand, as you said, that was show the reflection of your national character. and all the
Is it still on?
Yes, from him. Still on.
From him?
Yes.
We've lost you, sir. If you are listening, do we still have Engineer Shilon?
We have His Royal Majesty raising his up hand.
Royal Majesty, can you see? You can unmute yourself.
He's speaking.
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, we are hearing you.
I greet all of you and your department. I greet all of you and your departments. It's a good thing that this is happening. Now we have a branch, Ife Art School. Congratulations. Let's promote that branch and let it reach every part of the world, because that is Ife, the great Ife. Congratulations. That's all I have for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Yes, do we have the ants again? Yes. Let me check if we have ants.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We have
If he's listening, and let's hear him. Anyone? Yes, Oladiwoye, please come on. Let's have you. Unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hello, we're hearing you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon. Go on, please.
Oh, firstly, I want to thank the organizer of this program. I say kudos to the Department of Finance. Wow, this is a laudable program, which I believe that it should continue. And then it should be a periodical thing that others can be part of and at the same time benefit from what is coming out from it. Sincerely, I feel like being part of, to be at that venue physically, but due to the assignment here, I was not really able to be there. So I want to seek the indulgence of the organizer that they should continue these good things that they have just started. And, exposing us to this new brand of arts is something that is that is laudable, which we cannot just wish aside like that. So I want to say a big thank you and giving us this opportunity of being part of it, even despite the distance, is something that is commendable. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Any other hand? No, Adibayo. Umi, you've spoken before, so but I'll give you 1 minute. 1 minute, please. Umi, 1 minute.
All right, thank you very much, sir. To say, just in rounding up, some of the things that we should look at is, I know that a lot of us are being drawn between traditional arts and contemporary arts, but our language of thought must first be of the philosophy that Ife holds up, which means that our thought process before our language of expression. And then we may need to, for the curriculum, we need to look at democratization of that curriculum, looking into accommodating newer forms of arts and things, because nowadays with NFTs and co, you don't really need to be an artist to generate some of those works. In terms of some of the works, we might need to also do like a proper documentary of the works in the different years, the histories and all of that. And also I wanted to say to some of us who are practicing and the students that we will need to now look at how we can infiltrate all the spaces that the new technologies are bringing on with our cultural initiations, the things that we've learned in Ife Art Schools. There are still a lot of African stories, ideas that those spaces need to see, NFTs and codes and all of that. And then we need to see culture as an economy that can help us to be buoyant in terms of our finances. Culture is an economy and we can tap into that. Thank you very much.
Let me call on the head of the department to give his closing remarks.
thank everybody that is here present and those that are joining us online. I really thank every one of us, and I'm grateful that we are having this day as a kind of ceremony for closing this special art exhibition 60 by 60 by 60. And I must say that when this exhibition was about to start, and the university started the program of celebrating this university for 60 years of advancing knowledge, the university brought out the program, and there was a directive that all the organs of the university should roll out their program to celebrate the university. So we have different faculties coming out with different programs to celebrate the 60 years of the university. As our department, the Department of Fine and Applied Art, was planning our own, the Faculty of Environmental Design was also planning how to celebrate the 60th anniversary. I could remember sometimes in October 2021, the Faculty of EDM celebrated the 60th anniversary of the university in grand style. Some people, past students, alumni that have assisted the university in one way or the other, they were called together and they were honored. Those are the things being done by the faculty and other places in their own way. But the university finds something very special in the Department of Fine and Applied Art. You will recollect that the motto of the university is for learning and culture. And when we talk of culture, culture can be in diverse forms, in different ways. But in this case, for learning and culture, the university administration decided to approach the Department of Fine and Applied Arts specially, different from the way other people were approached. And they saw that there is something very, very important that the university must not miss, the general public must not miss that opportunity of the creativity that is in that Department of Fine and Applied Art. So we were informed, we were brought into the program, especially the special program for the 60th anniversary. So when the chairman of the university 60th anniversary approached the department, that's Professor Charles UKJ, and discussed this program with us, we made him to realize that the department was also having something like that. So we have to merge our own ideas with what Professor Charles UKJ on behalf of the university was thinking in mind. So how do we go about it? We look at here and there, and we were looking, sourcing for people that could come and serve as the curators of this special program. So we look for some people, and part of them was Mr. Rashid Amodu in Lagos, and Mr. Dr. Kokola, and some other people. At the end of the day, we come down to having Dr. Kokola, Dr. Kendi Akdekeba, and Mr. Wale Oyeleyi to be at the forefront of channeling this course of 60 by 60 art exhibition. And when we come up with that, from the beginning, from day one, these three people and other people are assisting them. They have been hit the ground running, working day and night to make sure that we have this 60 by 60 art exhibition as a very huge success. I must tell you that I am not disappointed, as you are also not disappointed in this art exhibition. This art exhibition has been attended by so many people from both the university community in Ileife and the university host, and across the nation in Nigeria, and even from people from outside Nigeria has attended this art exhibition. One key aspect is that during the exhibition, we have the representatives of the President of Nigeria in the person of the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, was here to look at this exhibition, and we are very proud of it. The whole department is very proud of this art exhibition, and we are so much honored by the people that have attended the exhibition. We also thank so many people that have contributed in one way or the other to see this art exhibition. We are so much encouraged by our leaders, our elders in the Ife Art School, when we talk of elders in the Ife Art School, when certain things are happening, we look towards these elders. And one of them is our elder seated here, Dr. Kule Filani. We are very thankful unto you, sir. We are very grateful. Thank you, sir. And we also thank many of our elders. You know, we are talking of a generation of 6 decades, 60 years. So we can't be talking of, like me, I think I belong to the maybe third decade or so. So we have a lot of people ahead of us. The honor movement that we have talked about over and over again. This still include this, our Dr. Filani, Professor KDG, Tolawewe, Tunde Nosiru, and Professor Bolaji Campbell. We have some of their works are here. We have works of the elders, first generation, second generation, up to this present generation. And I'm very grateful for all those things. Thank everybody. So we thank those that submitted the works. During the submission, we had a lot of works submitted, not just 60 works, but Mr. Dr. Popola knows that it was in serious trouble to say that some works will not be able to feature, not because those works are low standard or they are not good enough, but because we have a target of just having 60 works, and those 60 have to represent these 6 decades, the 60 years. So it was a serious challenge at that time, but we thank God that we are able to go through that. So another thing that I want to really appreciate the university administration for singling out our department. Out of all over 58 departments that we have in this university, the university singled us out because they know the value of the creativity that is being produced from our department. So we thank the university administration, Professor Ejitope Ogubodede, for allowing the Department of Fine Art and Applied Art to showcase this beautiful art exhibition. So, and I want to especially thank our current students that are here, and because they stand to be the future generation of this Ife Art School. By the time our elders are retiring, I know that it's difficult for an artist to retire, because I still look at Professor Baba Bruce in his 80s. He still go to a Mantan workshop, he still follow him there all the way from Lagos, and is not retiring. So, but in the next 5-10 years, these young students will be coming up as artists to continue to project the image of Ife Art School. So I thank you, our current students. And when we talk of creativity and the digital world, sometimes ago, that was maybe around year 2000, because when I graduated, there was no computer to type my own project. So, but by the time I was coming back for my master's degree, computer was coming up little by little, and it was a case that, computer will make everybody to go out of work, or people that are doing graphics, they will not be able to function. Computer is taking over the graphics world. Well, we have more than 2 decades, about 20 years or more now, that computer has actually come, and we have started using computer. And since that time, I have not actually seen this computer taking over the works of a graphic artist or the work of an artist that knows what is actually doing. The essence of technology is to aid, is to enhance our creativity. Technology cannot kill creativity. So one thing I know is that, like our current students, when we teach students in the department, we allow students from part 1 to part 2, especially when dealing with graphic works. You know, graphics is at the receiving end of saying that computer is going to kill art. So part 1, part 2, we will not allow students to go and be using computer, and except want to use it as part of the process of making art. But it can't be from the beginning to the end. So we encourage students to develop their skills manually before they get to this digital work. So when they get to part 3 and they are producing their posters, yes, they can use computer to produce posters from the beginning to the end, because they will have learned some things from their manual and creativity that they have done in part 1 and 2. So at the end of this program, I want to appreciate everyone involved. Thank you very much. I appreciate Dr. Bilani for encouraging this roundtable conference and for sponsoring the program. Thank you very much. Thank everyone.
Shall we all put our hands together again for ourselves? It's been a wonderful time coming together to actually interrogate the works we have. It is not for me to say the exhibition is officially closed, but the truth of the matter is, by virtue of our 60 days, it has expired. By virtue of say 60 days, it has expired. But I must say that while we are extending our thanks, I want to thank all the participating artists. All the participating artists. Each of them represents more than 60 artists. So it's like you are multiplying 60 by 60. So whatever work you have seen here is like somebody representing another 60 artists. So we can't have everybody here, but we already have 60 that's representing many other 60s. So a big thank you to all of them. And then I want to say this cut across generations. You see people of like Moyo Okoniji, Bolaji Campbell, Kule Fulani, Tola Wewe, Kalilu, even those who think were not into serious studio works, you still see that they still have some works that we can actually relate with. And that is the beauty of this exhibition. Like he has said, we thank everybody who has been involved. Particularly, I want to thank the curators. I want to thank Dr. Kokola, Dr. Adipiba, Oyeniyi. You have done so well. God will continue to bless you. You have given an example to those who are coming behind that with your mind, with interest, with determination, anything you want to achieve is possible. Because at the beginning, it would have been as if, what do we do with this? Initially, we were thinking, where do we use? And now, look at this. It's a beautiful place. So I want to say a big thank you to the curators for a job well done. Can we put our for the university that has allowed this, we say a big thank you. For our artists who have participated, a big thank you to you. In the reference of the way the info, we say Busa to you. We say Busa to every one of you. And ladies and gentlemen, we are rounding up, but we are not stopping. Because we shall continue to interrogate these works. We shall continue to talk about Ife Art School. We shall continue to talk about art. It's unfortunate that we lost some hands of those who raised up hands the right time. Like Engineer Yemisi Shilon, we have loved him to at least also be part of this occasion by having his own side of the story. He has been somebody who has always been around there. And we always tell you too that in the history of Ife, he can also call himself an alma mater. I mean, he can call himself his alma mater because he did the program here. And he has always been very interested in the Ife Art School. So, though we cannot have him, but we say a big thank you to him for participating. For all those who participated online, we will say a big thank you to you all. I may not be able to rule out names, but please accept our appreciation. We say thank you. And we want to say we have more of this in future so that you can always participate. Sir, we say a big thank you to you for not only being here physically, but for providing the platform that we are able to come together. Thank you very much, sir. About it, shall we put our hands together for him, please? In absentia, I want to thank Professor Charles Okeje, who is not here. He's the chairman of the 60 by 60 by 60. He's also the chairman of the 60th anniversary of the university. We want to say a big thank you to the our computer friends. Engineer Komi, Adewara, please help us extend our appreciation to him. And to the two gentlemen who are seated there, we say a big thank you to you. Thank you very much. Is there anybody, I hope I've not left out any, the security, all the securities that have helped us. The security, because you see at times the fear is that maybe when you come back here, a particular work will be missing. I must tell you, I was scared because I know what will create problem between you and an artist is to tell him that his work is missing. It will be a serious scandal. And I want to say a big thank you to our security because right from the beginning to this point, we never had such an issue. So can you put your hands together for them, please? Thank you very much. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we say a big thank you. After this, we'll be having two things. We'll be having photographs, and at the same time, we'll be having refreshments. The refreshments, courtesy Dr. Felani. Your hands together, please. Please, I think I need to single you out. Please, please let's clap for her, please. Maybe you don't know it is not so. Even if you are paid, it is not so easy to sit with works. It's okay for 8 or 9 hours and just staring at the works, and you are standing up every time anybody is coming. Put your hands together for her, please. Thank you very much for being part of the story. We thank everybody. Students, thank you for coming. I'm sure you have given one thing or the other. When we have events like this, please always encourage others to be there. Thank you, everybody. God bless. Ogami, these are for you. God bless you, sir. Please, we'll have photograph aside, and then we have snacks to take. Shall we just close it up again?